All right, so good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Dr. Herbert Harris. This is Millionaire Mentorship call number 295. And our topic for today is making right decisions. And this is a topic that we deal with periodically because we are where we are because of the decisions we make and the actions we take based on those decisions. There's a great quote, and it says, "Decision is the ultimate power." Decision is the ultimate power. Another interesting quote, "Don't make a permanent decision for a temporary emotion." Ooh. And then the last quote, "Unsuccessful people make decisions based on their current situation. Successful people make decisions based on where they want to be." Now, when I read that quote, it really made me reflect, because so often we make decisions based on the moment, based on what's going on right now. As a matter of fact, the events of the day or the hour often spur us to get engaged in the decision, the active decision-making process. We are always making decisions. Even when we do absolutely nothing, a decision is made because the universe is moving. We live on this great river called life, and it's constantly moving. And so no matter what we do, change takes place. I often, when we talk about decision, speak of a story of a young man, I guess from the microwave age, and we'll say he's a millennial, who wants to get an answer real quick, a simple, quick answer. And he asked a very successful gentleman, what is the key to success? What is the secret? And the gentleman said, right decisions. And the young man said, well, how do you learn to make right decisions? The gentleman said, by experience. So the young man, thinking there for a moment, this seems awfully simplistic. He said, well, how do you get experience? And the gentleman said, wrong decisions. And that is really the platform on which we live most of our lives. We make right decisions by making wrong decisions and learning from them. Even the definition of the word decision, in other words, a decision is a final choice. We can even get more complex about it. The decision-making process is the cognitive, meaning the mental, the cognitive process resulting in the selection of a belief or course of action among several alternative possibilities. Wow, that sounds complicated, doesn't it? What it really says is the decision-making process is really the thing that guides us on our success journey, because each and every turn, each and every step on the path is the result of a decision. So every decision that we have really results in learning. One of the key things about decisions is awareness, the idea of being reflective before making decisions, because every decision has consequences. I often think of the butterfly effect, and they often say that the wings of a butterfly, just the vibration created by the wings of a butterfly or a bumblebee, that vibration carried to its absolute manifestation can cause a typhoon on the other side of the planet. This idea of decision making is huge, because every step of the way, you may not see where it's going right now, but you look down the line. I was at a lecture, and the gentleman was speaking on a young man who had received the Nobel Prize. And he thought about it, and he said, well, this gentleman who received the Nobel Prize, who is he? Very few people have heard of him. And he received the Nobel Prize for great agricultural advances. And in thinking about the butterfly effect, say, well, should we give that person, did he deserve that Nobel Prize? Was he really the manifestation of that idea? And when you look back, you found that the young man who had received the Nobel Prize, when he was 6 years old, that he had an opportunity to walk in the forest and study with George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver found thousands of uses of the peanut, the great, really agricultural scientist. So who would have thought that George Washington Carver walking with that young man when he was 6 years old, that was the decision that could manifest in him receiving the Nobel Prize. But then you think back and say, well, maybe, what about George Washington Carver? What about the Carver family? Carver was a slave. His mother, I think, was Mary Washington. And so, well, his mother birthed him. Well, what about that? Maybe that was the decision that led to the Nobel Prize. Then you thought back, and at one point, I think one of the raiders, Quantrell's raiders, had stolen all of the slaves from the Carver family. The Carvers had slaves, but they were good people. And the mother, Carver, was so upset that she paid someone to go retrieve the stolen slave. Well, George Washington Carver's mother was dead, but they retrieved the baby. So maybe that lady should get the Nobel Prize. So the idea is, every decision, when she made a decision to hire somebody to go hunt down the raiders to get that baby back, manifested in 300 uses of the peanut, manifested in receiving the Nobel Prize. That is how powerful our decisions are. And so we must we must learn and master this art of decision making, because it will take us where we really want to go. Even in the good spiritual book, it says, decree a thing and it shall be established unto you. So the moment that you decree a thing means that you have made a decision and you have stated it. Whatever decision you make, the universe, the creative force, makes it happen. And see, that's the process. In other words, it all comes back to you. You have to make a decision. You can make it actively, based on your choice and your desires, or you can make it passively by not doing anything and let the world mind take care of it. The spiritual principle goes on to say, whatever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you will receive them and you will have them. In other words, you desire it, you made a decision for it, you prayed, you acted on it, and the process brings it about. So the idea that decisions have consequences is very profound, because where we are on our success journey is really the result of the decisions we make and the actions we take. So how does this decision-making process happen? There are 4 steps in the decision-making process. Number 1, decide exactly what you want. We often say your why. You can't make a decision. Most of us can't make decisions because there's so many options. There's so many alternatives that we get bogged down in analysis. Sometimes we call it paralysis through analysis. So once you decide what you want, write it down. Be specific about it. That's the first step in making right decisions. Do you want more happiness? Do you want better relationships? Do you want more money? Do you want a new home? Do you want more education? Do you want a complete change in your profession? The decision-making process says, once you decide exactly what you want, you've created those perturbations, that wings of the butterfly now, that are beginning to manifest in your life experience. Number 2, once you've decided what you want, define the answer in great detail. When you define the objective that you're seeking, you become clear about what you want. When you define that definition, for example, when you decide what you want, that's like an intention. And when you define that answer, that desire specifically, you have put flesh and bones on that intention. You've literally laid out the blueprint for the skyscraper you want to build. When you're in the decision-making process and you're clear about what you want, you begin to start that energy vibration to bring it about. Once you make a decision on what you want, once you can see the outcome in great detail, then the first law of success says, a mind shall have whatsoever he thinks in his heart. A woman shall have whatsoever she thinks in her heart. And so the moment now that you have defined that answer, you have literally written the thought that starts the manifestation process. The third key is to believe in the answer. So once you've written it down and defined what you want exactly, the decision is the final resolution of your belief. It's the final execution of the plan of action. If you don't believe in that which you're seeking, if you don't believe in your goals, if you don't believe in the desired outcomes that you're giving your life and your energies to, it won't happen. Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Pastor Mills, Pastor Theo, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. One of my great heroes. So once you believe in the answer, that says that you understand and you're congruent with the creative process. You see, when you believe in that which you're seeking, you're saying, I have the feeling, I have the intention, and I know it will manifest in my life. You see, self-doubt is probably the cruelest and most vicious of all the emotions, because it undermines your efforts so subtly that you don't even realize that it's happening. You know, many of us who are in business make a decision to do for it, to build the business, to go for our dreams, and then we let that decision be undermined by self-doubt, by lack of self-worth, even by somebody telling us that it won't work. The power of the universe, the making power, by whatever name you call it, manifests when you decide on an outcome with feeling and conviction. So the fourth key is don't ask how. You see, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. So when you have stated a desire, when you have believed in that desire, then confidence and congruence with the creative process says it's going to happen. Don't worry about how. You see, when you don't ask how, that says, I believe in the process. Think about this. We can you imagine in the scripture it says, let there be light. Now, the Creator didn't say, I wonder how that's going to happen. I wonder about this light process. What's the procedure to make light? I wonder how light is made. No, the creative process says that the Creator, which is you, that whatever you state with feeling and conviction will manifest. Don't worry about the how. Trust the process. And so in our own decision-making process, if we say, let there be wealth, and then we, in our small mind, say, I wonder how that's going to happen. Will I have to get another job, or will this particular business endeavor bring me the wealth that I'm seeking? You may say, let my relationships be good and empowering. Don't ask how. Don't ask who. So the thought is that the moment you have decided what you want, defined it in great detail, believed in the outcome that you're seeking, and don't ask how, the decision is on the way. When you know that it will be done, then you can flow into this. Once you decide what you want, once you define the outcome, once you believed, then you know that it will manifest. What is the process now to have it manifest? I know I have certainly made wrong decisions. Once you make a decision with feeling and commitment that it will happen, sometimes it just doesn't happen the way you thought it would. And so you have to say, well, what is going on? Well, when it does not manifest the way you thought it would, it's because you need work. You see, once you've made a decision and the outcome that you're seeking does not manifest exactly the way you wanted it, but you followed the process, then you have to take that perspective of, this happened because I need to know more. I need to be stronger. You don't walk into a gym and snatch and jerk 250 pounds. If you do, you may hurt yourself. But the message is that if you work at it over a period of time, you will build up your muscles and build up your strength that you'll be able to do it. And so it's the same way in life. When we make a decision and things don't go exactly the way we thought they would or the way we wanted them to, it's okay. Because look at it as the perspective of saying, hey, I made a great decision, and this outcome is to teach me something. Every outcome that manifests that I didn't expect is because I needed more awareness. I needed another level of understanding because I'm going to need it down the road. There are 4 things that really, 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 really impact our decision-making process and how it manifests. And those 4 things are our thoughts, our feelings, our habits, and our associations. You see, our emotions can always lead us astray. When we make decisions based on our emotions, we can often create things that are contrary to what we really want. Sometimes we make emotional decisions that are completely separate from facts and reality, just because we feel something inside. I've seen young people make decisions that will change the entire course of their life just for an immediate pleasure and immediate gratifications. Those emotions can lead us astray. When we make decisions based on something that makes us feel good in the moment, those decisions are like those butterfly wings. They're going to manifest at some point with something that we may not want. I've seen situations where people get into a relationship, and in their rational mind, they know it's bad, but in their feeling mind, their emotion says, I don't want to be alone. I want to be loved. And so you make a decision based on those emotions. I don't want to be alone. I want to be loved. And then when it doesn't work out because it was not based on something positive, it was based on a negative emotion, it was based on fear. Like rejection. Many of us who are in business, we hate to hear no. And so when it comes time to build our business and we need to make that other contact, that other phone call, and that fear of rejection is so strong that that phone weighs 500 pounds. And we get busy doing penny jobs when we should be doing dollar jobs to create our future and create our fortune. The thoughts that we have. You see, the moment you really decide or make a decision, your thoughts must be congruent with that decision. So if you decide a decision, I'm unhappy with my present financial condition, I want to create wealth, and I define wealth as having enough money that my investments alone provide enough income to support me and my family without any other activity. And so how do I go about doing that? Well, my thoughts have to be congruent with that desired outcome. So I can't think I want wealth, but then let thoughts come into my mind of lack and limitation. Well, I certainly want to create wealth, but then the thought that all the people in my neighborhood want to stay broke. All the people in my neighborhood would not want a business opportunity. All the people in my neighborhood don't want to change. So our thoughts must be congruent with our goals. Our thoughts can undermine our decisions. Sometimes our thoughts are based on past failures. When we remember the time it didn't work, when we remember the time we got negative outcome, negative experience, we start to rationalize things like that. There's a phrase I used to hate, and it says, "That's how the cookie crumbles." What do you mean? You know, situations happen in life that are unexpected, and someone tells you, "Well, hey, it's okay, man. That's how the cookie crumbles." So you are accepting an outcome in your life based on an external thought. So the thoughts are careful. The thoughts must be dealt with very carefully. So once you've decided something, your thoughts must be congruent with that which you're seeking. Your emotions must be congruent with that which you're seeking. Your habits must be congruent with that which you're seeking. Many times, our habits undermine our activities. One of the most insidious habits is the habit of procrastination. Last week, we did a course on how to overcome procrastination. And it was incredible to see the students really analyze procrastination and look at some of the 16 strategies to overcome it. Because procrastination puts you on this vibration. I'll do it tomorrow. And you know, one day that never comes, tomorrow, it's only about today. Today is the only experience you can have in the present state of consciousness. Tomorrow is a promissory note, which may or may not come. Our habits, we generally know what they are. We can work on them. The other thing that undermines our decision-making process is our associations. When we have people around us, the people around us create a vibration. Someone says that your level of success will be the average of the 5 people closest to you. And so the people that we permit, and see, now this is really critical. We permit people to come into our lives. And so when the people we permit to come into our lives are not congruent with where we want to go and what we want to be, if we permit them to remain, it will undermine us. You see, competing thoughts cannot occupy the same consciousness. And when you have thoughts around you that are not congruent with your thinking and people you love and trust, just keeping them around you creates a vibration that undermines your possibilities. And so where do we go from here? Let's look at these 9 steps that can help us make right decisions. Number 1, write it down. Whatever it is that you want to be, whatever it is that you want to do, write it down. I want to become wealthy. Specify it, write it down. I want to complete my education. Specify it, write it down. I want to have great empowering relationships. Specify it, write it down. The moment you write it down, you have fulfilled one of the spiritual principles. The Habakkuk says, write your vision and make it plain. So the moment you write it down, you have now created that butterfly effect in the universe. You have taken action. You have flipped your wings to begin the manifestation in your life. Number 2, analyze your decision. Knowing the power of the decision and how it's going to impact your life and the life of the world. It's not just your life. Suppose George Washington Carver had never been born. Look at the impact on the world. Who would have discovered the peanuts? Who would have been that great agricultural wizard genius? So analyze all the different outcomes. When we are presented with choices, and the fact that you have to make a decision means that you're automatically presented with choices. So take the time to analyze each choice and look at every possible outcome. I'm sure that when we look back on our lives, we'll find that one of the things that possibly caused us to make bad decisions or not good decisions was impatience. Rather than take the time to look at the impact of that decision in each and every regard, we make a decision quickly. There's a reason that the spiritual principle says, walk the width and breadth of the promised land. The promised land is anything that you desire. And when you walk the width and breadth of it, you are literally getting into the feeling, into the vibration of that which you want, which then brings it about. But you have to analyze each and every decision so that you know exactly what to do. There was that quote that said, it was so beautiful, it said, don't make a permanent decision for a temporary emotion. Step 3, list all alternative solutions. We make decisions emotionally and then we defend them rationally. So we can make a decision based on how we want to feel, and then we can develop an entire philosophy of why that's good. When you list all alternative solutions and really get into the impact of each possible solution, you're now preparing yourself to make the right decision. Step 4, evaluate each of the possible outcomes. Don't see it just for now, but look at the impact in the future. Look at the impact on others. When we evaluate those possible outcomes, we can make a decision now to go, I like to say, to go large, to go big. Sometimes we'll look at the outcomes on a local level, on a very minor level, but don't see the impact of that decision down the line. And so when you really go into that analytic process, that evaluation process, put time into it. Look at each and every aspect, because when you don't do certain things, when you make a decision, example, in business, in sales, person has to make calls, has to reach out to others. If you don't make those calls, then your desired outcome won't happen. You won't get a check. You won't make any money. And so when you start looking at those desired outcomes, don't look just in the present, but look down the line so that you can see the entire picture. Step 5, determine if the outcome you are seeking is a selfish one. I'm going to say that again. Determine if the outcome you are seeking is a selfish one. We live a harmonic life based on relationships with other people, with the universe in general, with objects, with our spouse, with our friends, neighbors, with the environment. And so when we make a decision that's so personal that it only benefits you, that's a clue that that might not be a good decision. If you're the only person that benefits from your decisions, you need to look at that. Even worse, if your decision hurts somebody else. You know, one of these phrases that I hear it and it just makes me cringe, and he says, it's only business. It's not personal. I'm firing you and you won't be able to feed your family, but it's not personal. I mean, I like you as a person. It's only business. So when you look at the outcomes that hurt other people, that's a true sign. Don't do it. Turn around. Step 6. Picture the consequences. Visualize each potential solution or consequence. Take the time to really get into it. You know, the meditation process, meditation, you'll find, is a powerful tool to help you in this process of looking into things, of picturing the consequences, because meditation uses your imagination, which gives you the ability to see beyond your present reality. Give yourself enough time to be reflective. Any decision that you rush into, if you look back historically, it was probably not the best decision at the time. Number 7, get advice. You see, our ego can make us think that we're the only ones that can do it. We have all the knowledge. We have all the wisdom. If you don't get advice, your ego can lead you astray. because your ego will often preclude you from getting advice from someone who can really help you. Now be careful, be intelligent about getting who you get advice from. You want advice from someone who's walked in those shoes before. You want advice from someone you admire and respect, who have a track record. Now, there are times that you get inspired advice. Sometimes a dog may bark something to you and it stimulates in your mind. You say, that's it. So I'm not precluding that. But if I say, what's the recipe? Then get advice from people that you would change places with. If you're getting investment advice from your brother-in-law who's living in your basement unemployed, then you have to say, would I change places with him? No. Well, then don't listen to him. Don't get advice from him. Step number 8. Stick to your decision. You know, the principle says, seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open. Ask and it shall be answered. But it doesn't tell you how long. The process, the creative process says, everything you desire has a cycle and a season of its own. And so the moment you state that desired outcome, it has a vibration. All you have to do is stay attentive so you can get in the flow of the vibration, the season of that which you're seeking. And you don't quit. Many times people quit just a few feet from victory. So when you make a decision to go for it, and there's little bumps in the road, don't let them throw you off. You stick with your decision, recognizing that those bumps are just to teach you how to drive better. When you make a decision to go for it, the bigger your decision, the bigger your goals, the bigger the obstacles. But faith in the process says that there is no goal that you can desire that you don't have the wherewithal to achieve. But if you don't quit, that the bigger the goal, the bigger the obstacles, but you must have faith that I can accomplish it. Because that's the process. Then finally, step 9. Put your decision into action immediately. As they say, this is where the rubber hits the road. See, procrastination is so insidious because it undermines your ability to act now. Procrastination always puts your action until another time, tomorrow, which never comes. So the key to success is to put your decisions into action immediately. You see, when we do this process, right decisions are the key to success. Right decisions are based on your experience, your knowledge, your exposure, your relationships. But you get experience for making wrong decisions and not quitting. Every decision that you made gave an outcome. If it wasn't the one you were seeking, that's okay. It's for a purpose, to teach you, to strengthen you, to prepare you for the next step. Focus on your past successes, not your past failures. So right decisions are the key to success. You have the power to make them if you state what you desire. Feel worthy of that which you desire. Have faith in your ability to achieve that which you desire. And then you just do it. You take action on it. You do what must be done, knowing that the desired outcome is on the way, that the process works, and your life will manifest exactly the way you wanted it to do. You wanted it to be. You wanted it to be. You want to experience it. And so, folks, as we say, live your dreams, let's be even more precise. Live your decisions and make the decisions congruent with the life you desire to live, knowing always that the best is yet to come. So it is.